The Aggies land 3-star interior offensive lineman Tyler Thomas. And man, is this kid underrated.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. And ladies and gentlemen, the Aggies continue to add to their elite 2025 recruiting class. This class is getting really, really, really good, folks. I mean, this, I'll tell you what, before we get into Tyler Thomas and who he is as a player, this recruiting class is just going to be absolutely special. And it's so funny because once again, when Texas A&M hired Mike Elko, I remember sitting there thinking, and I said this on the show, I remember saying, man, I think X's and O's wise, this guy's going to be one of the best in the business, coaching, one of the best in the business. But is he going to be able to recruit like Jimbo did? Well, where we sit right now, he's got the number 6 class. So, hey, I think he's doing just fine. Yeah, when it comes to recruiting, Mike Elko has absolutely gone above and beyond any expectations I had to this point. So, I mean, it's just truly incredible to see what he's done so far to this point. But you land 3-star interior offensive lineman Tyler Thomas. And, you know, I want to get straight into this. So first of all, the first thing I look at when I look at a player is an offer list. So let's take a look at the offer list here. Ole Miss, Penn State, Tennessee, Texas. Solid offer list. You know, and it was funny. I was on X reading about just other people's thoughts on Tyler Thomas, and someone chose A&M over, and listed some of the schools. One of them was Texas, and the Texas fans were incredibly upset about who and I guess they took some interior guys. And, well, we wouldn't have taken them, whatever. I always find that so funny. But my thoughts here on this kid are this. He is ranked, and I didn't write this down, which is very unlike me. He's a 3-star. Let me write down exactly where he's ranked in the class. He is ranked 611th in the composite rankings, and he is ranked as the 40th best interior offensive lineman in 24/7 sports rankings. So, yeah, he's a classic 3-star guy. This is the reality here. The first thing I notice about him is this: the height and weight. He's listed at 6'4.5", 317 pounds on 24/7 sports. On his personal X account, he lists himself at 325. So we're going to go with what he has to say. I'll tell you this: I don't care if you have 1 star, if you have negative 12 stars. I don't care if you have 7 stars. If you were about 6'5", 325 pounds, you can play football in the SEC. You can play offensive line in the SEC. Offensive line, and I will say this time and time again, is the position that I care least about when it comes to stars. I don't. There are so many more there are so many more metrics to me that matter more than stars when it comes to offensive linemen. It's length of arms. It's how strong are you? Do you have that dog in you? Are you not afraid to go and tackle? I mean, and block people, and you know what I mean. You have to have that. Offensive linemen have to be a little bit crazy. It's it's reality. I get it. That's you have to be a little bit crazy when you're on the field. You can't make friends. And when I watch the film on Tyler Thomas, that is immediately the vibe I get. He's not nice on the football field, which is the kind of guy you want. Yeah, I'm sure he's a great young man off the field, but on the field, man, he will bury you. And that's what you like to see. So That's my point. You're going to get the people. I can already, here's a prediction for today's comments. You're going to get some Texas fans saying, oh, he's the 3-star. Well, once again, to those people who are going to say that 3-star, I challenge you this. If you are motivated to go comment, he's a 3-star in the YouTube comments, tell me why you think he won't be a successful college player. Watch some film. You know what I mean? I think that's the most frustrating thing. I just don't think stars matter that much, especially for interior offensive linemen. Interior offensive linemen never, ever are ranked as high as tackles. If he was a tackle, I bet he'd be ranked like 400, and he'd be a low 4-star if he was a tackle, if not higher than that. Because once again, the film, and he does play tackle in high school, he projects to be an interior offensive lineman at the next level. But they list him as interior offensive lineman on 24/7 Sports. So if he was playing tackle, he would be ranked higher. If he planned to play tackle in college, he would be ranked higher in these rankings. That's just the reality. Interior guys never get the rankings quite like this. So let's read the scouting report from Gabe Brooks of 24/7 Sports. He says, burly offensive lineman with experience at both tackles who may ultimately project to be a long-term in a long-term guard role. That's where I project him. Likely capable of providing roster value / position flexibility, enormous base with lower body strength that enables anchoring, adequate movement ability and pass protection, and when asked to climb to the second level. Still developing foot quickness and functional athleticism in general. Hands are inconsistent at this stage. Size / mass suggests immense power capacity when fully developed. Checks the multi-sport box with limited shot put experience. Projects as a Power 5 caliber offensive line prospect with a ready-to-play size and natural physical tools that suggest some upside. I agree with all this after watching the film. I still think when he talks about the foot quickness, I think that's something that comes as you not only develop as a player, but grow, grow into your body more, get stronger. That's just part of that. That's going to come at the offensive line position. So yeah, I mean, I think this kid is underrated. I do. I think Tyler Thomas is an underrated player. I like the film. I like the size. Here's the deal. You can't teach 6'5", 325. You can't teach it. You can teach how to throw a spiral. You can teach how to get open on press coverage. You can't teach 6'5", 225 pounds. You just can't. And I think that this kid is going to be really, really a solid player. I do. I think, and is he a guy that walks in and plays? No. Is he a guy that plays as a sophomore? A chance, but this is a guy who I think sits for a couple years, really develops, and then you look up and he grows and you go, man, Tyler Thomas is 6'6", 320 pounds of pure athletic machine. And at that point, yeah, he's got the frame to where I think you could, if you're the coaching staff, you could take his body either direction. You could take him, especially if he gets like 6'6", you could take him to a tackle, probably cut like 15 pounds, get him a little bit, in better shape that way. Or you could take him to 320, leave him 325 and have him be an interior guy. So there's lots of different things you can do with a player like Tyler Thomas. So yes, this is an addition that excites me. It is. Anyone that says 3-star, before you comment 3-star, give me a reason. Give me a reason why, people, you feel that this guy isn't a solid addition. And newsflash, no one's going to have a solid reason. So that's my point. I think Elko's doing a great job in the trenches, especially on the offensive line this year. Let me count. How many offensive linemen is this? Is that 5 now? Let's count. Joshua Moses is 1. Tyler Thomas is 2. Connor Carty, who we talked about a little under a month ago, is 3. Marcus Garcia is 4. And then Jonte Newman is 5. Yeah, so that's 5 offensive linemen. And I don't believe he's done yet. I think that he's going to get some more guys. But Texas A&M's up to 13 commits, which at this point in the year is a lot of commits. This class is really getting rocking and rolling at a good time, and I'm excited about it. So Tyler Thomas, great football player, definitely a reason to be excited if you are a Texas A&M fan. I've got an interesting conversation to have. So we know who the guys are going to be, we believe, when it comes to running back, receiver, and tight end. But in the two deep of that next best, who might not start, but they're going to be first guy off the bench, who's that going to be, and who's going to lead the Aggies in stats at those positions? That's going to be the conversation coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. Listen, the T-Wolves are able to keep the series going with the Mavs. I don't love this if you're a Mavs fan, just because, not because I think the T-Wolves are going to come back and win the series, but because I think that you wanted Luka, who's really banged up, to have as much time off between series as possible. So if you're a Mavs fan, you really hope they close things out in Minnesota coming up in Game 5. You do not want this thing stretching out. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So what I'm talking about here, I want to explain this a little bit better. I think this is going to be an interesting little conversation here. It's going to be, so, we believe that Moose Muhammad, Noah Thomas, and Janae Walker are going to be the guys at receiver. Who is going to be wide receiver 4, and what's the stat line going to look like? And we're going to talk about, we're going to have that conversation for running back, wide receiver, and tight end. So starting at running back, I think this is hard because I think that Reuben Owens and Le'Veon Moss are going to be such an even 1-2 punch that you really can't say either of them for this discussion. So to me, the correct answer for this is Amari Daniels. Amari Daniels, I mean, let's pull his stat line on last year. I already forget it, but I mean, this is not a bad running back. I mean, Amari Daniels is a player that I really like. Last year, he had 105 carries for 532 yards, about 5.1 yards per tote, 6 touchdowns. He also caught 14 passes for 102 yards. So he had 634 total yards from scrimmage last year for the Aggies. And listen, I mean, I'll tell you this. If you want to call it a problem, you have a good problem that Texas A&M has so many talented running backs. And I do believe that Amari Daniels will be the running back 3. I think that's gonna end up being reality. But I think he's probably one of the best running back 3s, if not in college football, then in the SEC. But I think potentially both. He's an absolute monster. I really like Amari Daniels. The only issue for him is the fact that he's got other players ahead of him. It's kind of like we talked about last year, Texas A&M. They've got so many defensive linemen. It's been really hard for some of these guys. That's the case for Amari Daniels. The Aggies have 2 really good running backs who I believe will be ahead of him. I believe he'll be the RB3, and I believe he'll get some carries. I don't think he'll have quite as many snaps as last year, but because Colin Klein at Kansas State last year, he really had 2 main running backs. Now, was that because of he only had 2 running backs? Was that because that's what he likes to do? We'll see that this year. But I I still think Amari Daniels gets some carries and plays, but I don't think he's going to play as much as those guys. But I still think he's a great running back 3 to have on this roster. Then at receiver, I think the answer here is Cyrus Allen. There's a few names you could go with. You could go with maybe one of the young, surprising guys. Could you go with old T's? There's lots of different names that you could go with here. And I think that Cyrus Allen is the one that makes the most sense just because last year, you got to forget, I think we were so excited about Jabri Barber that I think we forgot Cyrus Allen is a really good football player. So, let's pull up his numbers last year. Once again, he had 778 yards for Louisiana Tech, 4 touchdowns. He's a 6 foot, 177 pound receiver, strong, fast, vertical guy. I think he's going to be a really solid player. And I wouldn't be surprised if he had 350, 400 yards this year as the wide receiver 4. If somebody gets hurt, maybe does he get to 600? I think that's a very legitimate season for Cyrus Allen. He's a really, really good player. He's a high upside player. He's fast. He can be a deep threat. He can help you all over. I like the upside he brings. And once again, I think the point here about Cyrus Allen, the thing I look at with him is he is your wide receiver 4, maybe even 5. You know what I mean? And I think he's got a ton of upside. The key to being a good football team is having plenty of depth. You have to have lots of depth. And I think that Cyrus Allen is an elite depth piece in the SEC. He's not here to be a starter. He's not here to be the guy. He's here to be a guy. If somebody gets hurt and he's thrusted into a more serious role, I think he can do that at a high level. And that is exactly what he is here for. That is precisely the role that Coach Elko, Coach Klein went and got him to function in. So, I'm really excited to see what he does. I think that he's going to have a better year than I'm anticipating. I think he's going to have a better year than many are anticipating. Now, I really do feel good about who's starting at receiver for the Aggies. I don't think there's going to be much wiggle room there, but I definitely see a world where he can sneak in and have 400 yards. So that is definitely going to be something to pay attention to. I think Cyrus Allen is a really good depth receiver for this team. Then at tight end, I've got 2 here. Don't yell at me, but I've got Trey Watson and Jaden Platt. I really like Jaden Platt. I just think he has so much upside, untapped upside. Remember, out of high school, what's Platt ranked? Let me pull it up. Platt was ranked, he was the 101st player in his recruiting class, according to 24/7 Sports. The composite rankings had him a little lower, 238, but in 24/7 Sports, which, as y'all know, they're my favorite when it comes to rankings, he was 101st. He's a really good player. Good size for Platt, 6'5", 245. So while Watson has a little bit more experience, I really like the upside of Platt. And I just think if I'm gonna play somebody, I'd play Platt because I don't want to lose him to the portal. He's a guy that he's got a ton of upside. He's talented. He can be really good for you. He can be really good for your football team. And I would not risk him hitting the portal by playing a tight end. It doesn't have as much upside. So Watson, I like him too. And I think this is probably the answer at tight end 2 behind who I believe is going to be Donovan Green, as you everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know. But yeah, I think Platt is a really, really great player. I think Watson's a solid. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Watson. I like Watson a lot as well. I just think if you want to go pure upside, Platt is the way to go. So let me know in the YouTube comments, who is the sleeper 2-deep player at the skill positions for the Aggies who you think might get some yards, get some snaps, have some receptions, have some rushing yards? Let me know that in the YouTube comments. So we're going to talk a little bit of strategy when it comes to winning a regional for the Aggies. That is the conversation coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. So, keys to winning a regional, a baseball regional. So, key one is to have it at your home ball field. The Aggies have already, step one, check mark. That is great job of getting that taken care of. Playing at home is so much easier, knowing the Aggies will, if they win their regional, they won't have to leave home until they go to Omaha. And that is so important. You do not want to have to leave home before the first game. Now, the number one key for me, is save pitching versus Grambling. Save pitching. If you are able to save pitching versus Grambling, you're putting yourself in a really, really good position to win this regional. Texas is going to take on Louisiana. That is going to be a real duke it out, heavy hitter battle. And, once again, the key to winning a regional is going 2-0. Especially for Texas A&M, it's beating Grambling, a team who, has lost to the two SEC teams they've played like a collective 49-5 or whatever it was. A team that Texas A&M should win this game by 10 plus runs. You should not be stressing about pitching in this baseball game. You should not be stressing about scoring runs. You should really add on against this team and keep scoring and scoring and scoring. And I think if you do that, that's going to help you be able to save pitching. That needs to be the goal. Save as much pitching as possible so that you can use it all in game 2. Once again, if you win game 2, you are putting yourself in a really, really, really good position to win this regional. Game 2 is everything, especially when you're the 1 seed, because game 1 is not as difficult of a game as some others think it might be. So once again, the issue now becomes, who do you pitch when? To me, you're going to throw Prager in game 2. I think last year, LSU threw Skeens in game 1 of the regional, which you can't knock anything LSU did because they ended up winning a national championship. But you get what I'm saying here. If I am Coach Slosh, I am throwing Prager in game 2. I'm saving him. I'm throwing him in game 2 because I think game 2 is when he I think that game 2 is the one, as I've said time and time and time again, you got to win. You have just absolutely got to win that game. You can't lose it. And I think you want Prager on the bump. I think you want your number 1 guy. So I would put Prager on the bump in that game, and I think if you win that one, you win the regional. That's the reality. So that's my second key is first key, saving pitching. Second key, throw Prager in game 2. If Coach Slosh decides to throw Prager in game 1, I'm not going to sit here and yell at the wall or anything. I mean, I get it. Because like I said, LSU, I believe, did that with Skeens, but I think that's the key. And then in both games, early runs. You want to be playing with the lead the whole time. You do not want to be at a deficit. You don't want to be having to press or stress in a regional. You want to always be, leading in these. So I think those are the keys to winning the regional for the Aggies. I'm excited about this. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Postseason baseball in college is just fun. I really, really enjoy it. So that's kind of my thoughts there on the Aggies and how they got to win this regional. But yeah, Prager game 2, safe pitching, early runs. That is how you win this thing and then go 2-0. You do those things, you're going to get out of this regional. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank y'all so much for being here every single day. I really, really do appreciate it. I hope everybody has an outstanding rest of their Wednesday, and we will see you tomorrow.